Tom.
Hey Matt, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm pretty good, man. It's a special day.
It always is a special day, but you're right. It is a very special
It's a
day.
very special day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of being 13 when you're 45. And happy 420, sir.
Before 20, man. I
Yeah.
gotta say, I hate being late to things. So when I texted you earlier, like I should have known that the dispensaries would have been bonkers.
Oh yeah. Completely.
Bonkers. So I was sitting in the car. My wife was in the dispensary because there's no reason for two of us to go in, and she's like,
Yeah.
I'm five people outside of the store.
That's so funny.
All right, now I'm 10 people in the waiting area, and it's like, God, and they still do all the pickup, the pre-order stuff. So
that's crazy.
She got in and out respectively, and this is, we record this at 8 p.m. The stores close at 9. I could not believe, I figured the real stoners were probably there at 6 a.m. to get some crazy ass doorbuster deals.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, I had to take a little pause to get into the celebratory mood. Look, I funny thing about this holiday, right?
Yeah,
and I think people out there are laughing because we're calling it a holiday.
It's an official holiday,
it's an official holiday, right? So, at the risk of doing what we do every single show, let's wax poetically about something that is randomly useful to us and nobody else. But I love this. I love this day, and I'll tell you why. Because there is 1,000 shades of gray when it comes to who likes this holiday.
Yeah,
and everybody's united on one thing, right? So no matter why you're doing it, and there's plenty of reasons people celebrate this that I don't agree with.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. We're all in this together, right? It's all the same day, right? And I really love it for that reason.
And let's can we think of another holiday that is not government sponsored, that is not religious, that is not an obligation to anything other than, taking it easy and having a good time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and it literally, so that is, let's start there, right? That's the best version of why this holiday is amazing, right? Because it's just about having a good time and being a good human being. That's it. There's nothing else.
Whatever you want to do today, chill out and do it. I mean, God,
I'm really bad about taking off for the day, though, and I should.
Oh, I never do. It just so happened that Wednesdays I'm not in the office.
Yeah, no, I never take an opportunity to just kind of enjoy the day, so to speak. But one of these days, maybe not this year for sure.
Well,
but when I was younger, and this holiday came up, we literally did stop the press and just get high all day, right?
Yeah,
and it was all about how much, what kind of volume could we take in, in the day.
I don't see, but I feel like there's a threshold. Once you cross that threshold, you still might be having a good time, but you're not functional.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. It's funny. I was at the first legal cannabis cup in Denver. I'm talking about the energy in that room was palpable, right? That was a very fun event, right? But I'm there covering it for Head Shop, and so I've got all my camera gear with me and everything, and the people behind me in line waiting for the doors to open that day. There was maybe, I don't know, 6, 7 of them. Tom, they smoked, every one of them pulled out a joint, a blunt, a bowl, something.
Yeah.
All of them, the whole group. And then all they did was rotate it around in a circle for about an hour. And I was like, it's 8 o'clock in the morning right now. This is them starting their day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, I respectfully disagree with that choice. I cannot possibly even imagine how in the world I would ever do that.
Yeah.
So like that's like one group of people that I'm just like, hey, look, I can't hang with you, man. Sorry, it's not, I can't hang with you. But happy 420, right? Like,
Yeah. I have a friend who's a functional medicine doctor, and he's pretty. It's pretty interesting when he talks about those people that need to wake and bake. That's
sure.
like I don't like if I did that. I'm gonna let you know I'm gonna have a horrible day.
Horrible.
Just like nothing is getting done, and I'm going to walk around lost.
Yeah, no, that's a terrible day.
And he's talking more of like interestingly a neurotransmitter issue. Like those people have like zero fucking dopamine. They literally cannot function until they get some kind of pleasure stimulus.
Yeah,
and that comes as cannabis.
So I heard a comedian the other day. I forget her name. I wish I could write in context of this story. I wish I could remember it, but she was a comedian and her stand-up set was about, she's like, oh, if you laughed at that joke, you have serotonin, so we're not talking to you. Like she was doing, she was doing a whole shtick on antidepressants and she's like, she had a whole like couple minutes on serotonin, like as a comedy element in her bit. And I was like, this is amazing. Like this is the greatest 2 minutes of stand up ever. Like somebody who's somehow randomly weaving in some nerdy fact like that.
That's hysterical. Like it's not a funny joke.
Right.
But and I'm not saying that she wasn't, but I'm saying that there's a joke that I heard from a neurologist, and it was serotonin and dopamine are technically the only two things you like.
Yeah.
And it's like, why? Because those are the feel good ones. Those are the ones that you need.
Yeah. Let me see. Serotonin. Let's see how savvy Google is. Taylor Tomlinson, first result in Google. Dude, listen, I don't care what anybody says. We live in crazy times. I just typed into Google female comedian that does serotonin joke, and literally the first result.
That's her.
That's her. I was like, who ever doesn't think that is mystical science is absolutely crazy, because that is nuts how Google figured that out.
It is very scary. So the other night we're sitting around on the couch.
So Taylor, by the way, Taylor Tomlinson, just should we go
check her out?
Well, I'm just saying she is super funny, and she has a whole thing. I'm going to put it in the chat. She has a whole thing about serotonin and dopamine and antidepressants, and how like she just doesn't produce serotonin, period. Like, and these drugs help her do that. And she's like, basically goes down like a very funny, candid, like take on this. And like, the funny part about that is it's so disarming because like nobody talks about that shit, specifically not like that. Right. Like,
yeah.
So
like at that level, you've lost most of the audience if you do it.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's definitely, but she doesn't lose anybody. She keeps it right on the rails. It's like, it's actually good, but it's fucking hilarious, man. She's really good. So anyway, I saw her randomly, unconnected to this, obviously, but I saw her on, like, I was looking for a comedian to watch, wanted something to see something funny. And she just came up and I was like, yeah, sure. Let's try this out. It's great.
Yeah.
But then this now the conspiracy theorist in me is like, but did my Alexa hear me say that and feed me that in the search results?
Was it watching when you were watching?
Right. Yeah, dude. It's like crazy town, right? But yeah, so cannabis. So this is a fun holiday for me because, as you know, I with Head Shop, this is obviously a big holiday for us.
Yeah.
It's sort of like the Super Bowl, kind of thing for the cannabis industry. So it's been an active month, but every time this happens, every year, I get super charged up by the variety of people that are engaged in recognizing this as a day. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. It's really cool. Like, it's very, very cool. And then somebody, God, what did I read just not too long ago? It was like, pick your terpene for 420, right? Like, it was basically saying like, hey, what kind of 420 do you want to have?
Mhm.
And here are the strains that you're going to use to get to wherever you want to be, right?
Yeah.
But they get super technical, right? Like they'll be like saying like, hey, are you looking to have like a like totally chill, like sit on the couch day? Here are the top 10 myrcene dominant strains that you should look for that are going to put you like on your ass, right? Like,
yeah. Isn't that amazing, right? And then,
yeah, right.
and then you hear these stupid ass fucking names. Like, so I went to Colorado the other weekend. I told you about a seminar I went to, and I'm like, well, I got to check out a recreational dispensary. So I walk in, and what am I going to get? Maybe a pre-roll. I have cannabis at home. I don't need to fly just to fly with some. And one of the choices was Kimbo Slice.
Oh.
The Street Fighter turned MMA guy, and immediately he goes, okay, so the terpenes in this,
Oh, that's funny,
feel like you got punched in the eyes. And I'm like, I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
I will take that.
Yeah. That's so funny. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's all over the place right now, man. You know, you get people that are like, what was it? They, somebody was talking about using like Girl Scout cookies, I think.
Are you talking about the actual Girl Scout cookie?
Yeah, the
or
Girl
the
Scout
strain?
cookie strain. Yeah, sorry, my bad.
For those of you who are not savvy.
Yeah. So they were saying use Girl Scout cookies if you're trying to fight like athlete's foot, or if you have some kind of bacteria in your body because of its high. What is the one that sounds like eucalyptus, eucalyptol, or something like one of those ones.
Okay.
But basically it's got like this antimicrobial, antibacterial, antifungal property, right? And so when you use it, it's like, and it's funny because it's the eucalyptus one, so it smells like Vicks VapoRub. So like just mentally, like that totally checks with what I would expect from that. You know what I mean? Like when you hear it together, you're like, that makes totally sense. Yeah, it smells medicinal, right? Yeah. Well, eucalyptol is the one that's what it's called, eucalyptol. Like, it's that's the one that smells like Halls or Vicks. You know what I mean? Like it's got this minty sort of vibe to it.
And that's the coolest thing, man. I know we talked about it back when we talked about COVID so many fucking times,
right?
But like, you know, then you have all the other cannabinoids. You have a CBVA, or
I know you got the whole CBD soup.
Yeah, right? And you've got all of these therapeutic properties, and they said something like over 400 cannabinoids within cannabis.
Oh, it's crazy. But yeah, like that's nuts. But like, you know, you think about this too. Like if you look at, you talk about COVID thing, like, you know, one of the funny things is the pinene content, right? And like right now, literally in my diffuser right here, I have pine, like, because I do this like meditation with this and pine and like doing a little meditation. I read this study years ago that said that you got the same therapeutic benefit as of meditating in those pine forests in Japan. Right. Versus putting an aroma diffuser in and doing pine smell. The results were within single digits efficacy on both experiments.
On difference. Wow.
Right. So like basically I was like, that's fucking amazing. You know, I already have an oil diffuser. I'm just fucking buying a giant bottle of fucking pine. And like I do it like it's like 9 out of 10 times when I put the diffuser on, it's pine. But like pinene, which makes that smell is like, it's a bronchodilator. Yeah. It's like, so like, that's why when you're in a pine forest meditating, you're fucking getting hyper oxygenated because you are just like basically like your brain, you're physically taking in more oxygen. Like, you know, like,
yeah.
And so like when you look at those like, you know, tricks, I guess is the best way to say it. Like I can say, if I want a bronchodilator, I'm going to go get something like, you know, a Blue Dream or something that's like super high in pinene. I'm just gonna, you know what I mean? And be like, okay, that's it. You know, like, but like, You know what? You like that kind of herb, like when you smell it and you taste it, and it's got like that hint of forest in there. Like I personally, that's like one of my favorites.
That's that's like rosemary has it. I mean, that's an evergreen. Yeah,
Right.
So it's amazing because we have at our office. It's basically a cannabis physician's desk reference.
Oh, nice.
Right. And you look up certain conditions and it goes, here's the strains, here's what you're looking for,
way.
here's
Really?
the terpenes.
What?
And this is an older version of it. But I'm sure the new ones have the breakdowns of the terpenes.
Exists? Okay.
How
do I get a copy of this? Like,
it's got to be on Amazon.
Hold on, man. Fucking buy it. What's it called now? God, hold on. What's it called?
Cannabis physicians, cannabis pharmacy, hang on, let me look. Now you got me looking.
Yeah, handbook.
It looks like an actual like reference book. It's not cute.
Handbook of cannabis for clinicians, principles and practice. Dustin Sulak. Does it have like a weed medical cross in the front?
It's a black cover. It might. I don't know. It's like it is.
Well, let me know.
Is thicker than the Bible, man.
The Handbook of Cannabis for Clinicians, Principles and Practice.
It might. That sounds close.
Yeah. Okay. 384 pages. That doesn't exactly sound like the phone book.
No.
Anyway. So yeah. Just let me know. I want to check this bad boy out. But yeah, man. I mean, I used to get so nerdy and like I didn't think there'd ever be any practical value to it. But
yeah,
I took every time I used to buy oil cartridges, right? I used to be a concentrate guy. And those terpenes are added exogenously. So like they have a tighter control over like the percentages. So I think, although I don't particularly love concentrates much anymore, I do appreciate their exactitude, right? Like if like since they're adding that in, they know what they're adding it in at. So you have a specific dosing, predictor, in the case of a concentrate versus a flower, which could vary wildly.
Yeah. And that's kind of interesting, right? We talk about hybridization in all plants, right? So you got to watch when they're like your ketchup always tastes the same from the same company because they make sure that whole genotype is true, and they'll get rid of anything that has weird deviations in it, and they're constantly breeding the same ones. And with cannabis, I mean, how many strains are there? Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
so there's more every day. Yeah. So like,
and it varies, right? So you get one batch and, either the THCA is higher or the terpene profile is
I mean,
off.
you're going to get close, but you're not. And, commercial farming now is like got its,
yeah,
with almost surgical precision, like what every part of that soil, every part of that light, every part of that water is doing. So like you can take the same phenotype and just like pump that shit out like production style.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like you got 100% control in those concentrate pens.
No, in the oh no, I see what you're saying. Yeah, for sure. That's what I'm saying. Like that shit is like precise, man. Like because you can say like, all right, this has got 0.7% pinene, 1.2% limonene in this test. Like unless you were doing an average over several crops and saying, okay, well, OG Kush pinene is this on average over like long period of time, and then had some what I mean, like, which doesn't really exist to my knowledge, but I mean there'd be no reason for that to exist except for to satisfy this conversation, right? Like it's not like it's not but I don't know, like I do like that you can predict that, right? Like, so when I was doing concentrates, back to what I was saying real quick, just to tell you why I even brought this up at all, is that I would take a picture of the label every single time. And they said, and over time, when I was like, oh man, I really did not like that. And you look at it and you kind of realize, you take kind of a mental snapshot. And then the next time you get one that you just really don't like. And then you look at that, take a picture and you compare the two. it has been my experience that those two ratios of these terpenes to one another is pretty predictably similar, right? Like, and that's what's really fun about it, because you start getting to know, and I mean, I know for me, I'm a big limonene guy, right?
See, I got to watch with that, because that tends to be in more of the sativas.
It does, but yes, and yes, and it is really popular in the hybrids. Like,
you see that a lot. Yeah,
it's extremely prevalent in the hybrids, and that's where you get to play around. Like, okay, so if I expect that higher limonene strains are going to be in the hybrid lane, which I personally do believe is true, I could then say, do I want heavier co-myrcene ratio?
Yeah.
And make it more of an indica experience.
And we can do this in a matter of generations with flower. We can do that immediately with concentrate, which is super cool.
Oh yeah. No, it's great. But I'm saying, like, you can say, okay, I'm going to add eucalyptol, right? And I'm going to bring it to the sativa side, right? Like, so you can play around with it, and then you can start to look at these labels and start to say, man, I fucking love this one. And you know what? When I say that, 100% of the time, the limonene is off the charts.
Yeah. I get that.
And more specifically, it's a limonene myrcene. That's the reason I pulled those out as examples, because in my personal case,
that's yours.
Yeah, the limonene myrcene high, like, if I can pump those two up, then I am a very happy customer. Like, that to me is like an amazing outcome all the time. And it doesn't matter whatever strain I'm talking about.
Did we talk about, because like we're getting pretty specific into the nerdy parts of it, much like a sommelier would.
Yeah, right.
Do we talk offline? And I believe the program was Gangier. I'm probably saying that wrong.
I can't remember. Yeah, no, we did talk about that.
We did talk about that online, like where they're actually training cannabis sommeliers, if you will.
Yeah.
That's amazing to me.
Oh, totally. Hold on. I want to show you this. Have you seen this? Oh my God, you're going to love this. So years ago, because I had shop, I go to these trade shows every year, right? And I have been doing it for 20 years. Okay. And I'm putting this in the chat right now, so you can pull it up if you want to, while I'm talking to you.
Oh, you told me about this. I was trying to get my hands on one, and then I'm like, I absolutely don't have the room.
Yeah. So here's the thing. First of all, they have a desktop version, by the way.
Yeah.
Like they have a small version.
Tell me that, man.
Yeah, no, they have a small version. Look, I'll tell it's on here. Go to shop.
And then Live Alchemy? Wow. So we better tell people what we're talking about, right?
Yeah. So I'm going to, totally going to. So here's the thing. So I found this company called, that's what I was trying to tell you, right? Yeah. So I found this company called Terpwall, and it was by True Terpenes, and they are a terpene extract company. Okay. And so they have cannabis derived terpenes, where they will take a cannabis plant and they will extract the terpenes in isolate, and then collect them to be later reintroduced exogenously during the concentrate process, right? And just for anybody who isn't a cannabis dork like I am, or what ends up happening is, when you take a massive amount of plant matter and you compress it under CO2 or pressure, or you can have CO2 expression, or you could have butane expression,
and butane's less preferred just because of the. Well,
so butane will give you a wider terpene extraction profile. Like, it'll.
But they're worried about actually getting the terpene, the butane itself.
Well, but that's the sort of razor blade that industry walks, because it's are cell phones dangerous? We don't know. Like, it's like it's like this very sketchy line, but like, what they're really talking about there is that you will ingest a few ppm of butane molecules out that have nothing to do, that are vestigial tails of the
that we just couldn't get that 100%.
Yeah, we couldn't get it
clear
out.
of.
Yeah, like they're just leftover carriers from the extraction process. So
Mhm.
like the academic reason why CO2 is better is that it would be, there's no, your leave behind is just carbon dioxide. Like, your leave behind
You're gonna,
isn't a petroleum based, product like butane, right? Like that's not a natural product. Like it's leaves behind a chemical footprint. Now it's literally infinitesimal, like it's very, very small.
Yeah.
But then, look, we don't know. It could be absolutely benign, or it could be like what makes everybody die of fucking brain tumors in 10
Well,
years.
I mean, like, how much microplastic do I have inside my body right now?
Exactly. Right.
Like,
So,
how much toxicity is already there?
Right.
And
is this contributing greatly to the
yeah, I mean, what's going to take you out, I think, is also has to be a question.
Right. So yeah, exactly. And so I think that, so I'm not actually sure. I think the expression is a little bit more accurate in butane, but here's the thing. Either way, when you get to the concentrate level, right, however you get there, the terpenes have basically evaporated. They're like not there anymore, right? And so what Tom and I are talking about here is basically companies try to recreate the average terpene expression in a particular strain when they reintroduce it into concentrate form. So it basically, companies like Terpwall or True Terpenes that make terpenes, they extract this from actual cannabis, they bring it into isolate, and then they can add it back in whatever specific ratios that they want. And long way of explaining why this is kind of neat is that these guys made and sell this merchandise trick called the Terp Wall, where you could walk up to a jar, take off the top, smell the top, smell the liquid inside, and there's a whole write-up of like what it is, like what strains it is in and what are the effects of it and blah blah blah. And then you get to bind it to a smell. And I'm telling you, like, that's the only reason that I can identify any of these, because once you smell that and are told what it is, it's literally, and for me anyway, was literally impossible to forget. Right. Like, because you're like, oh, like I know what linalool smells like now. Right. Like I know what pinene smells like. I know what caryophyllene smells like. You know, like once you smell it, you're like, oh, that smells like, linalool.
And you'll know those flavors, like immediately you'll go, okay, every time I have this food,
sure,
I know this. And when you taste it in a joint, you'll go, yeah, that's definitely it.
Yeah. But you're in Chinese medicine all up over the place, right? Like linalool is lavender essentially, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So lavender, like I don't need a fucking doctorate in anything to tell you what like lavender, lavender chills me the fuck out. You know what I mean? Like, and so like when you smell lavender, when you taste lavender, when you inhale lavender, like any of those things are going to be contributory to being chilled out. Like, right? Like, I mean, it's like one of those things that like you just relate to it at a DNA level. No, am I crazy?
I don't think so. I mean, like we can talk about aromatherapy and kind of this void of academic research on it.
Sure.
But I mean, there's certain things that like, we talk about this a lot on the show. How dangerous is it? You're going to get killed from smelling lavender? No. Does it calm you down? Yeah, guess what? It fucking works for you. Just do it. Right. Just do it. And it's funny because you're talking about lavender and I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. That's that strain, Lavender Jones.
Mm-hmm.
Like immediately I'm going.
And you're like, oh, man, I was chilled the fuck out.
I was really chilled with that one.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, 100%. And like, it's just one of those things where you're like, God, this makes so much fucking sense. And like, and I don't know, it's just funny how we think it's impressive that like we can discover this, but like how many centuries ago did somebody like pick a lavender plant and be like, fuck, man, that is very pleasant. I'm going to keep doing that. Like, and
how many times that happened.
Right.
Is like, absolutely, because we're going through, right? So if we talk about the stoned ape theory, right? Basically, we stumbled across psychedelic mushrooms because our ancestors were just trying to eat as much as we could. What happened to Ted? Oh, he had that one. Don't eat that. He's dead. By the way, Sally over here just expanded her fucking consciousness.
Yeah, right. She's levitating over here. You should, whatever she ate, we'll take 2 of those.
I would say somewhere in the middle of us going around and eating and smelling and tasting, when we had less external distractions, I'm sure there was like an intimate connection to all of those things, right? Like we understood, when we talk about shamans in South America and everything, and them talking to the plants and singing the songs the plants sing, it's like, that sounds out there, but at the same time, thousands of years of coevolution, and what are we picking up on? And what are we not picking up on? So I mean, that stuff is really amazing to me. And the other thing is we have something we literally call weed that grows all over the fucking planet that has like how many therapeutic properties, how many different terpenes, and we're still talking about, like, even if we break it up into 3 cannabis species, that's still one thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But it, yes. And here's the thing. No, yes. And why are we fucking like not recognizing that part? Like, that's the funny part to me, because like, I'm not, I don't know. This sounds a little douchey to say, I guess, but like, I feel like I'm fairly decent at just knowing like what an idea is like, when an idea is going to be like a reasonable long-term good thing or reasonable long-term bad thing. Right.
Yeah.
And like when I got to college and was first really exposed to cannabis and cannabis culture and the stigmas associated with it and everything like that, I can remember almost immediately, and I'm not talking about high school when you're like sneaking a joint out the back. I'm talking about like you're in college, like this is a real discussion at that point. Like I went to art school. Everybody's talking about it, right? Like it was very, the DARE program was all part of our childhood. Like this is a conversation a million people had, right? But like, oh fuck, what was I going to say? But even at an early age, I was very much like, this is the dumbest thing ever. And I want to be part of something that makes it fun and cool. Like I want the world to feel about it like I feel about it, in terms of how awesome it could be, and not associate negativity with it at all. Not like this, just like nothing but pure love and fun.
It is. You know what I mean? I look, man, I was one of those just say no, straight narrow kids.
But so was a lot of people, right?
I don't think I tried cannabis. I might have tried it once or twice in college. Maybe more than that, but not much more. And then it was like, wait a minute, hold on. I'm seeing all this fucking research that no one's talking about. And then, like, I don't know, shortly after that, you start seeing the writing on the wall. States are talking about legalizing it. And you're like, well, look, hey, was that Sanjay Gupta reversing his stance on everything he said about cannabis?
Right.
Oh, like, wait, hold on. They think he's a real smart doc. They put him on all the TV shows. I don't think he's lying now. But this long-term bad, long-term good thing, it's very funny that that we demonize, like we even call it marijuana as that has racial undertones. Look at those.
Totally. Yeah, it's crazy. And like, listen, I'm not trying to be, when I try to say cannabis as much as I can.
Yeah.
It's not because I'm being one of those cannabis fucking douchebag like purists, because like purist of anything, I don't care if it's cannabis or otherwise, I just don't like you. Like don't fucking don't rule me to death with your fucking doctrine over there. Like fuck yourself.
Me?
Like No. Like I'm saying, like to the people that get the people that get like on your, if they get uptight about it, like I'm like, look, I'm not one of those guys, but here's the thing. It's sort of really disrespectful to say marijuana, right? Like, and I'm not going to make a big deal out of it, but I'm just going to try to use a different word, right? Like that's it. Like I'm not. It's not like
if you can do better, do better.
Correct, right? And I'm not going to be the guy who's like, you really should call that cannabis because blah blah blah. Like, no, I'm not. It doesn't matter to me. I'm not offended by it. Like whatever. But we really should stop using that word, right? Like that
# woke stoner.
Ooh. I'm just saying, like, I'm not even trying to do that. I'm just saying, like, we should kind of stop using it. It's not necessary. It's not called that. Like,
you want to hear, and you probably know this. Even the term joint has weird racist underpinnings that go back to the Chinese working in railroads.
I have never heard that story, but that sounds fucking fascinating.
Can I do that? Because I feel
I've never heard this. That's funny.
Now it's 420. So And God, Chinese and cannabis goes back much further than that. But let's keep it in American history right now, buddy. So Chinese are working on the railroads. They came over with their culture and everything. They brought opium. Now, as the railroad moved, they'd throw up these little shacks that all the cowboys and Westerners and whoever else was working on the railroads would call joints. Now, those joints, the cowboys and all the white people that weren't, treating people the right way, would go smoke opium with the Chinese.
Okay.
They would then call the pipe a joint because it was associated with the house in which they smoked it in. That pipe then became a cigarette, and then it went from opium to marijuana, cannabis.
Interesting. Wow. By the way, real quick sidetrack. Should I put a $400 mini terp wall in my cart for you?
I fucking saw it, man. I just I see, like, to be honest, I see a lot of glass. Even like I don't have that. Like right now, I'm drinking out of my my Golden Girls. I don't know. Can I get that clear for you?
Yeah,
there's a little Blanche.
Yeah, nice.
Golden Girls plastic water bottle because I can't be trusted with glass on a desk.
That's hilarious. Yeah, that's hilarious. But yeah, no. Back to the Chinese. I did not know that about the joint thing. That's pretty interesting. It's funny that it's funny, not funny that like. That many things about this culture just got tied into like really shitty other things that had nothing to do with this whatsoever, right? Like,
well, I mean, jazz lettuce.
Yeah, right. I mean, come on, seriously, yeah, right.
Come on, that's a funny one though. Please
it's
don't
funny, but it's funny, but it's funny, but it's like, oh, come on, really? Like, what the fuck,
It's so stupid.
But it's like, this is one of those things that, like, I mean, since as long as I could remember, almost, like, I just feel like I was on the side where I was like, you know what? I have no idea what tomorrow is going to bring in this world, but there's one thing I know pretty much unequivocally is that one day cannabis is not going to be a big deal. And I really hope I live long enough to see that, because early on in my life, I was like, that is a long ass way away. But it is very exciting because, like, we're kind of there, right? Like, I mean, there's a little bit further left to go, but we're more or less at the finish line. Like, I mean, like
I'll tell you clinically, like, I've been practicing 21 years now, and I used to have people come in back in the day where they're like, so, you go, okay, so what makes this condition better? And they're like, look, man, you going to tell anybody? No, this is between us. You have HIPAA, so sometimes I'll smoke a little grass and my migraine will go away.
Sure.
Like, well, that's great. That's like more than 10,000 other things you could do.
Yeah.
Now somebody will come in and they're like, yeah, so on Mondays and Wednesdays and Fridays, I microdose with 1.5 milligrams of psilocybin, and then on the alternate days I take 10 micro units of LSD, and I'm like, what do you do? Oh, I'm an executive over it.
That's hilarious. Yeah. Or even worse, they'll come in there and they'll say, I got migraines. I smoke in the morning. I will inhale green crack. Which my wife has migraines, and I once looked up green crack and one of the Tangy strains are good for migraines, and I was like, dude. My favorite strain of all time right now, like literally of all time, is a Tangy dominant strain made from Curio out in Timonium.
What's the name of that one?
It is what is it? Oh my, Chemdog.
Okay.
Tangy. It's a Chemdog Tangy mix is the predominant. Ooh. And there's another version of it, which is Chemdog Tangy. Hold on, I might have it actually right here. There was 3 of them. Dark Star. Yeah, Dark Star.
Dark Star is a good one. Is that one where they just give you a bunch of letters? It's like the acronyms.
So Chemdog Tangy Dark Star, in my mind, was the equivalent of telling you to go left, right, and straight at the same time. Like that is the cannabinoid equivalent of that, right? So Chemdog, massive indica, like about as indica as it gets, right? And it's super powerful, right? Like it's a really powerful indica, and I love it. It's one of my favorite indicas, but man, it's definitely strong. Like, I mean, it will put you down, right? And Dark Star is this amazing hybrid. Like it's super well balanced. Like I personally would put it almost exactly on the 50-yard line of terpenes, like, or of hybrids. Like, in my opinion, it's kind of like as hybrid as it gets, right? It's, and Tangy is this amazing sativa, like super bright, very nice, not paranoid, like very,
everybody's happy. Everybody's having a good time.
Everyone's having a good time. And then they hybrided them, the 3 of them,
Yeah, I want you to eat an entire pizza on the couch while dancing around laughing and contemplating the multiverse.
Right. Yeah, it's the fucking weirdest thing in the world. So like I found that one, and that's kind of like my go-to. So like when my wife was like, "Hey, I have migraines. Is there something you can find for me?" I actually went down the rabbit hole for there, and green crack was like the number 1 that came up. And green crack was one of my favorite, what I call all day concentrates, I used to love that in a pen because that was like something I could go to, like when I was shooting that show, the Cannabis Festival, when I told you, it was on a vape pen of a green crack, right? Like it was great because I could be out all day. There's no like weird come down. Like you're just like, for me personally, I was out and about running around rocking. And it was great, right? And so, like, I will always like kind of put those together in my mind.
Yeah.
Like so. But it's neat how you could actually go out and do that, right? Like,
you can like it takes some experimentation, but I think you can figure out what that is. Yeah, I gotta say, as someone told me that their favorite thing to do was go to the gym high.
Yeah, see, I never got into that, but okay.
And I tried it once, and like I think she meant cardio, because I feel like I could get on a treadmill. If I was stoned, I'd probably be like more entertained than like, look, I'm just running on a fucking belt.
Right.
But I was deadlifting, and I remember looking at the weights and go, those are fucking heavy. Why do I want to lift?
Why do I want to do this?
This is dumb.
Yeah, a buddy of mine convinced me to get high. A buddy of mine convinced me to get high one day and go do laps at a pool. So like we got very, very high, and that was before vaporizers came out. So like I got like regular dugout, like glass dugout high, right? So like you're actually smoking a little bit, right? And I mean, it wasn't awful. I mean, it was fine, but like, it's not how I would choose to go swimming. You know what I mean? Like, it was sort of like, yeah, I mean, this is okay, but
So you're saying Michael Phelps probably didn't race while he was stoned?
yeah, maybe not. I mean, I don't know. Maybe Michael Phelps is better at stone swimming than I was, but I was kind of like, okay, we can check this off the list, right? Like we don't need to keep going.
All right, we did this.
Yeah, we did this. Yeah, I did that. I got really high and swam, and it was fine.
I would watch that ESPN channel.
Yeah,
I don't do sports, but if you said like this is ESPN 420,
that's hilarious.
I would like
athletic activities.
Stone football sounds amazing to me.
That's hilarious. Right. You know what else? I was never really one of those guys because we're obviously we're talking about cannabis here. So but you ever have that friend who's like, everything's better stoned? Like I was never that guy. Like I actually have trouble not judging those people.
We used to hang, like I had a pretty tight group of friends in high school, and then a couple of them had, like we all had a peripheral groups of friends that were like, and we were hanging out with one of them, and I never saw him with his eyes fully open or not bloodshot. And I mean, this was years of us hanging out. So years later, I'm at one of the core group's weddings. And somebody goes, "Hey, Tom, you remember me? I'm so-and-so." And I went, "Dude, you look so different." And then about like 5 minutes later, I'm like, "Yo, man, I never saw you with your eyes fully opened."
That's
like
funny.
There was never a time I was in your presence when you weren't high.
That's really funny.
That is insane to me, though. Like how... we had people in high school that like, I'm like, yo, they're sitting in the back, they're fucking baked.
Yes.
They walk in and you're like, oh yeah, they're high.
Yep. Yes. They
They graduated. Fuck, I was in all honors. They were in my classes.
Right.
Had I known then what I know now, I probably would have joined them.
Yeah, well, I mean, you'd be silly not to, right? I mean,
you're crazy not to.
Yeah, I mean, come on. But yeah, I mean, look, you live in a different world right now. It's funny, like our kids aren't going to have the same sort of weird bias to this crap.
No,
as we
absolutely not. It's just
they don't even
understand.
I mean, my son is not even going to fucking understand like how this is a thing at all. like there's not.
I feel like we should have a movie that's like in response to Reefer Madness.
That's
like,
hilarious.
Look, this is what they fucking told people at one point.
This is what they fucking told people.
Some people want to go back to this because they're fucking morons.
Yes, we agree with that too.
You will never decide it's a good idea to jump out a window. You will never
you will not.
put a baby in the oven.
Yeah. Do you remember the comedian back in the day, Rick Dukeman?
I've heard the name.
So Rick Dukeman, when I was a kid, I mean, I must have been like 8th grade. He came out with this special, and he's like, was talking about warning labels on things, and he's like, the cigarette companies, they have these labels now that are like, we didn't know. So like, smoking is dangerous to your health. He goes, I didn't need a fucking warning label to tell me that if I walked into a hardware store and grabbed a hammer and banged it on my fucking head, like, then it would really fucking hurt. He's like, and so every single time I hear weird arguments like that, I think of the Rick Dukeman speech. And I was like, and that's literally all I could hear. Like, it's like somebody being like, me going, how do you think like that? Tell me.
I just, there's certain things that you think would become pre-programmed.
Yeah. Right.
And then you realize, no, a lot of motherfuckers probably died before somebody's like, look, guys, I hate to be the one that has to break this to you, but that fucking kills you.
Yeah. we should probably agree to not do that.
That is probably a bad idea.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And it's funny that that's how we used to learn, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, just you shave down the herd a little bit,
Yeah. It's funny because what was that Bear Grylls like choose your own adventure show that's on TV?
Oh God, my kids love that.
Oh my God, my kids love it. And so like one of them was like, I'm starving. Do I eat these mushrooms? And I was like, eat the mushrooms. Wow. And then 2 minutes later, the adventure ends because he's dead. He's got some like weird stomach viral situation going on. It's because he ate the weird mushrooms.
They could have made that so amazing.
Oh my God. Yeah. Right. This could have gone in a very different way.
I'm done adventuring.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to explore my inner self.
Right. Yeah. I mean, well, which is why I was sitting there watching it and my son had the remote. He's like, what, do we eat the mushrooms? I'm like, we should eat the mushrooms.
We should always eat the mushrooms.
Always eat the mushrooms. Yeah. So we totally ate the mushrooms and died 5 minutes later. So that's awesome. It was fucking hilarious. Yeah.
Did you see this? This is an aside because we're supposed to be talking about cannabis, and this certainly wasn't psychedelic mushrooms, but there was some study that just came out. And I gotta pull up the actual study because it could have been 10 people that they were looking at, but it seemed like a longitudinal study. So what they say, people that eat like 45 grams of mushrooms a day, and clearly not psychedelics. I mean, if you can do that, kudos to you. But like something like a 60% reduction in cancer risk across the board.
Oh, dude, yeah. There's all kinds of weird fucking things coming out now about mushrooms, man. It's crazy. I have to tell you, I am more than 50% down the road about exploring opening a mushroom growing facility.
Oh, so he got to you, huh?
He got to me. Yeah, he got to me, man. And here's the thing, like the more I shouldn't say he got to me. You know what? He planted the seed and I've been like kind of looking around and like, honestly, like I'm having a harder time understanding why I wouldn't do it.
Well, I mean, what's the buy-in? What is 100K total?
Yeah, I think all in though, like I peeled that back a little bit. All in, you're talking about 300 grand probably. So it's not like no money. It's from a investment standpoint, it's not like an unachievable amount of money. So like it's and the potential yield, if done properly, is more than justifying. And the scale,
I mean, that's within a year
and
too,
the scalability of it is absolutely predictable, right? Like, so when you look at like whatever like ideal arc of expansion would be for a growing business, like you could match that thing like with a scalpel, because it's such a precise thing, right? Like, so you really know, okay, if I need this, I got to go here. Like, what that is. And like, I just love everything about it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great, and I think that like Matt, long term, that might be neat.
We might have some people that haven't listened to every episode of.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So we're talking about, Matt has a friend who is now
he was on the show. Yeah,
he was in the show. And he has set up a business of shipping containers that have been converted into full mycology growing and cultivating centers. Yeah,
Taylor Martin, he's all in it, man. And like the thing I love about it is not only is it all that stuff, but like the one of the call outs that we didn't really focus on a lot because we were so busy talking about a bunch of other shit.
Yeah.
But like that farming method has 100% to do with the immediate ecological surroundings of the box itself.
Yeah.
And it relies on the local ecology to support itself, even though it's in this metal box. Right. Like, so it's this weird symbiosis, not symbiosis, like it's this weird replication of inside and outside, and then what comes out of the pod then goes in back into the ecology outside to then restart the cycle all over again.
Yeah.
So it's basically like 100% self-contained, like it's an amazing, like everything. So I'm like sitting there going, you know what? Look, even if the payback was like really long, like this is just a cool thing to get involved with. And again, it's one of those things where you look at, like, when I told you, I think I'm pretty good at looking at feeling things like long-term good, long-term bad.
Yeah.
There's zero long-term bad in this idea.
How could there be? I mean,
like
zero.
There's zero. That's not even a possibility, right? And then on the other side, it's any shade of good that could happen, right? So I don't know.
That's awesome, though. I mean, would you be part of his, or are you thinking about?
No, I think I'm in talks with some folks. I'm trying to probably raise enough to do around myself.
Wow.
I mean, not myself, me solo, but like, raise money with a small group that goes in on a unit together. Mm-hmm. That with the expectation that if we do want to scale it, we all kind of benefit from that scale. And then you can start bringing each other's unique skill sets in as it starts to scale up. So like, that's like best case scenario, but like, I don't think it's that hard. Like I said, it's not that much. It's not that much money, right? Like it from a business.
I mean, if you're looking at a franchise, like if you want a McDonald's franchise, I don't know, you got to come to the table with a few mil, right?
Yeah, right. Like that's what I'm saying. Like it's
and that's fucking dirty ass McDonald's,
right? Yeah. So $300,000 does not seem like is as an irrational number to do this, right? Like, but here's the thing, it's still $300,000 and you have to know how to do it and you have to want to do it. And then like, you need land to do it on, like, so you need, and the land has to have, amenities, electricity, water, like stuff like that. Like, so, or you have to have somebody there all the time. So like, you could either feed this thing, with external stuff like, electricity and water, or you can just do it yourself. It could be a standalone thing, but then somebody has to literally go there and water the plants, kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like it's, so I don't know, but I don't know. It's just like a neat thing. And like commercially, 90% I like of the US mushrooms are grown in one county in Pennsylvania. Right. Like, and like, what a fucking genius business plan that was, right? Like that county should be fucking teaching a masterclass at fucking Wharton. Like, you know what I mean? Like that is fucking amazing. Like, like that is like crazy, but like we have a huge appetite for it. And then, so full circle back to what you talked about earlier in the show, dude, cordyceps right now are like blazing, bro. Like everybody and their brother. There is a study about cordyceps coming out every 5 minutes.
Did I tell you when my cousin told me he was taking them?
No.
So my cousin, he's 70 now. He's still fucking jacked. He's worked out his whole life.
That's hilarious.
He blew out. I'll show you a photo of him. He does not look. He looks closer to my age than my father's, which is a little sad. But he also has hair. But within that, he comes over and he like, look, I did some kidney damage to myself when I was younger, and I started taking these mushrooms. They're called cordyceps, right? And I memean, Chinese medicine has had them in for 5,000 years, let's say. And he goes, they're just great. They're just these mushrooms. And I'm like, well, they're not just any mushroom. And he goes, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, technically, there's these silkworms, and these silkworms get infected with this mushroom spore. And then this mushroom spore consumes them from the inside out until there's no more silkworm. And he goes, that's what I'm eating? Yeah. And I'm like, yeah. I mean, it's 100% mushroom, but it's came out of a worm.
Came out of a worm, yeah.
But
so
like,
those things are really in high demand right now, and there's just
hugely.
Yeah, and there's not like it's not like everyone and their brothers cooking up cordyceps. You know what I mean? Like, who the fuck is growing cordyceps, right? Like, and like, but like lion's mane, reishi, like, I mean, these all of them. Like, I mean, you know, these mushrooms are like on the pharmacological scale. They're not just like culinary, right? Like they're, you know, like a portobello mushroom is fucking delicious, but it's not going to do a whole lot medicinally, right? Like,
well, you wait until we figure that one out too. I'm sure there's this.
Well, I mean, sure,
and
maybe.
there's plenty of like, it is a good quality source of food with a lot of different nutrients. It may not have medicinal quote unquote properties, but I'm sure it goes better than say a hell of a lot of other things I've eaten today.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, but like, look, you look at all the people that are like crazy, like, you know, supplement people, like a healthy like cornucopia of mushrooms are a staple in the diet of like the true like supplementator, you know, supplementor, you know, like. And honestly, I don't take a lot. I don't take any mushrooms presently. I think the closest I get is an occasional ashwagandha dose. But yeah, I'm a little off the mushrooms right now, but every time I have a conversation like this, I kind of wonder why I got off, because they're delicious and they're so fucking good for you. Like, it's just, you know, like, it's just crazy. But yeah, I don't know. These pods are an interesting idea, right? Like,
I think it's super cool, man. I think that's amazing. And it's like, when you were talking about this one county in PA, what first came to my mind is like Budweiser getting really fucking pissed off when craft brewery took off.
Yeah.
You know, like all these little pubs started making their own beer again. And then it's like, well, the fuck's no one buying our piss?
Right.
It's like, we all figured out how to do it.
But you know what I think happens though is like then everybody's like, oh yeah, I could go and get this craft beer for $9 a pint, or I could get a 30 pack for $8, and that's a lot more beer. So
that's very true.
I'm gonna drink that beer instead, you know, like, and so that's, I feel like, the universal leveler.
Well, but you know what, it would be interesting because I think I'm not trying to jump ahead of where you're at with the end game here, but at some point that switch gets flipped. Yeah, definitely starting to feel the effects of 420. But within that, now you're talking, I'm now growing and selling psychedelic.
Oh, and
mushrooms.
Like, look, you know, and like, that's one of those other things too. Like, when through the lens I'm looking, that reality will be here sometimes, someday. I don't know.
Cannabis kicked that door open.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, so like, yeah, psychedelics are next, right? Like the radar.
If we're starting to use MDMA clinically.
Well, MDMA, I think, is coming online this year, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But you know what I'm saying? That's a synthetic, right?
No,
you know,
totally.
So if that's how much longer? I mean, it's definitely within the next decade.
I mean, the Hopkins guys that we've talked about a bunch of times on this show certainly aren't hurting that cause. I mean, like, they're, you know, psilocybin, given where MDMA, I think, and actually, you know, this might be completely bizarre, bonkers, and I could be way off base, but like, when I look at that, I say, okay, man, look how hard it was for MDMA to make its journey from where it started to where it's at now. Yeah. But it only had that long because it's fucking the first of its kind. Right now, psilocybin is like literally going to probably be an eighth of the amount of time that thing was, because like, I mean, there's already a long
historical use.
Right,
there's, I mean, we know at least, if nothing else, the safety of it.
Right, and that's exactly right. And so what I think is psilocybin, if MDMA hits this year, then psilocybin cannot be that far behind, because, you know, it just can't be. It's too similar.
I also feel it's going to be a different arc, though, because I see psilocybin going a little bit more cannabis where it's like, here's a dispensary.
Right.
You
Yeah,
don't
that might
need,
be, but that you're right. That
you don't
totally
need
is
a prescription for this, because MDMA is going to be a prescriptive use, or like an inpatient type situation where, hey, you're going to do this under, medical supervision, and then you're going to have integration
right
of some kind, where like shrooms, yeah, they'll probably have that. I mean, they have that now. But I think it's going to go more like, look, if you're above 21 and you have these criteria, here's your medical card.
Sure. No, you that's totally plausible for sure. I mean,
and only because it is a natural source, and I know that's a stupid argument to make, right?
LSD is right behind that too. So
yeah, LSD is.
Yeah,
but I mean, this is all us getting super tight ass in the 50s, right? In the 60s.
Yeah, and like we all have to tip our hat
to there.
We have to tip our hat to cannabis too, because it fought the 40-year battle, and LSD and shrooms.
Was it 1947?
Yeah. Oh yeah,
even
that. Yeah. Well, no, it went
or something.
Yeah, illegal. No, way earlier. Yeah, it went. Yeah. But I mean, cannabis fought its way out to the front, and I think other things like psilocybin, LSD, MDMA are enjoying significantly lower rides on that roller coaster.
Definitely, 100%.
Because of cannabis, right? Like so. But anyway, yeah, man. It's fun that our show's lined up for the day of 420. I'm glad that it gave us like a completely fun topic to.
Well, if it was bicycle day, I don't know how well I would have handled that.
I'm pretty sure I'm sure we would have been then talking about anything other than bicycles, right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. We would have been very bicycle centric.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we'd be riding all over. It'd be a mobile podcast. No, it would not. So what are you getting into this week?
Oh man, so this weekend I'm not doing much, man. I told you before the show, my wife is getting a little meniscus surgery tomorrow. My kids had off, so today or should I say Monday, we dropped the kids off at my parents'.
Nice.
So they don't have to be around with all this nonsense. So this whole week, I've skipped my 5 a.m. alarm.
Nice.
I still have been meditating every day, but even though I'm going to work, it's like a mini vacation right now. So
yeah, for sure.
So we're trying to enjoy that.
Yeah, just leaning in on that, huh?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, cool.
What a great week to have 420 in too, man.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, how fortuitous,
how fortuitous.
Yeah, that's funny. What
did you do?
No, I just got back from Costa Rica, and like I'm feeling pretty good about the world right now. I got
to say, my wife was not happy when I said, "Oh yeah, he's got a place in Costa Rica."
Yeah,
and she's like, oh. And I said, he hasn't been there in like 3 years though. She's like, he's place.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, come on, we bought it years ago, and like it was sort of like one of those things where we just. I mean, have you ever been down there?
No.
Oh,
I mean, I almost in 2015, I almost said fuck off and took the whole family, and we were just going to live down there.
Oh my god! So you would not regret it. It's a cool place, man. I mean, it's really fun.
Yeah.
It's just a cool vibe. Like the whole country's fucking amazing. Like it's just very fucking cool place to be, right? Like it's not, I don't know if I'd be ready to live there full time, but man, it's a super cool place to fucking be. Like,
yeah, my mentor talked me out of moving down there, and well, he said, "Look, you're going to think it's the best thing in the world for like maybe 2-3 months, and then around 6 months, you're going to start lighting fires."
Yeah,
it was like there's only so much. He's like, you're not wired for that level of relaxation.
Yeah, right.
Like he's like you can't. He's like you're gonna something's gonna fall apart. You're gonna like.
So I had this weird thing happen on this vacation, and I have found out. We talked about this yesterday. Actually, remember I was in my coaching session, and he was asking me about the trip, and I said, well, I feel very weird because I feel like I'm failing in my day to day because it took me 4 full days to stop having chest pains about not doing work. Right. And he goes, no, that's absolutely fucking normal. And I was like, what? And he pulls out like 9 books off the bookshelf behind him. He goes, no, look, it's called parasympathetic flooding. It happens to all kinds of people that are professionals and especially high driven stress job type people. Right.
Yeah.
And then he walked me through what's happening. He's like, basically like your body, when you are in a sympathetic flood of, stress, right? Your body is ignoring going to the bathroom, being tired, being horny, having, like whatever, like anything other than survival is completely fucking eliminated from your periphery. Right. But it's just like building a temporary wall, right? Like they're just out there. You're just making a moat, like you're holding it back, right? Like, but the second you let your foot off that gas pedal and fucking the walls can come down and it just floods up and it basically floods back and erupts back on itself. And you're just stuck for a temporary amount of time in this parasympathetic flood, which is basically like overdoing your rest and digest, right?
Yeah.
And like he said, it takes 5 days to get fully out of that cycle. So if you take a 7-day vacation, 5 of them are literally just going back to zero. It's like, that is depressing. Like, the fact that it took me 4 days to decompress, I'm like, dude, that's crazy. Nobody should be so fucking wired up that it takes you 4 days to get back to normal.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. Right. So what I'm doing right now is I'm studying re-entry into the world. I'm taking this week to kind of reacclimate, and I'll get back to it next week. So
that's not bad, man. That's great.
I'm just sort of, wrapping my head around where I left off kind of thing. It was nice to get away though. And my daughter, we finally fulfilled a years-long promise. She now has her own surfboard, and life got suddenly better when she was in the surfboard fraternity.
Yeah, sounds great.
Yeah, so it was fun. It's hot as shit down there, by the way, right now.
Honestly, I could use some of that. It's been fucked up, man. It's 85 one day and then it snows the next. What the hell's going on?
103 there.
That's a little spicy.
It's spicy, but there was like a 20-mile-an-hour wind. It didn't feel like 102. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you guys sure didn't go like kite surfing or something?
No, man. It was crazy, but... Well, listen, man, happy 420 to you, sir.
Happy 420.
I will, good evening, and we'll talk next week.
Sounds great, man.
Yeah, later, man.
Later.
Be subversive, irreverent.
Health is wealth, but you knew that.
Everybody knows that.
But so is following us on social media at Irreverent Health. And check out our website for more exclusive content at irreverenthealth.com.
Oh, I like this.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Irreverent Health.